So I think today, as we're drawing closer, we're kind of at the halfway mark. But, you know, usually the last 2 weeks are pretty full of all sorts of intensive questions and logistics and so forth, and kind of getting the final ideas down. So one of the things I wanted to talk today about was logistics. I want to talk a little bit about photography, since we have this amazing photography, and we have Christy here, who is an amazing photographer as well. It'd be great to talk about, you know, what your style of photography that you want. Being a wedding photographer yourself, it's a completely different story than your average bride who may not know a lot about photography, may have seen some things in a magazine that she likes, or friends' pictures. So I want to ask you, Laura, you know, what it is that you're going for. Obviously, you were very drawn to Jasmine's photography style. What is it that you like about it? What is it that you envision yourself? Are there specific styles that you want? Is there specific, you know, poses or non-poses that, you know, that you're looking for?
Well, I do. I mean, I do have a little bit of a different perspective, being a photographer and a bride. But one thing that I know is that I really respect Jasmine's eye and her interpretation of our personalities, and so I don't really have anything specifically that I am looking for. I'm just hoping that she can meet us and learn about us and interpret that in the amazing way that she does.
Are you usually pretty comfortable in front of the camera?
No.
Or do you like to be behind it?
Has this process made you more comfortable in front of the camera?
A little bit. I'd like to think I'm not gawky and awkward, but
I enjoyed photographing you the little while I got to do it. Yeah, you seemed like a total natural.
Okay,
so.
good. That's refreshing. Yeah, I'm hoping that it's okay. I think, you know, really what I try to bring my brides on their wedding day is just to have them interacting with their husband in a natural way, just the two of them, and to capture that. So I'm thinking that Jasmine probably does the same thing by looking at her photos. She really focuses on catching the couple in their true element and the way that they interact with each other. And
yeah, seems
just
like very authentic emotions,
just
interactions.
The moments in between.
Witnessing it rather than like posing somebody. So I'm just going to focus on being there with Billy and loving him and kissing him, and then I'm hoping the pictures come out great.
Is it kind of a relief in a little way that you get to be at a wedding and be, you know, a very special wedding, such a huge part of it, and not have to be in charge of that, to be in control of it? You get to just totally be the bride and not, you know, be the wedding photographer for once.
Absolutely. And I know Jasmine's work because I follow her blog. So I think that's a really good tip for brides when you're researching things for your wedding. Really spend time to get to know the people who are involved in your wedding, because it's going to make that experience so much easier, just to let go and trust that person who's doing it for you.
Definitely. I think getting to know them, engagement photo shoots are also usually a really great way to work with your photographer in advance of the wedding day. Get to know them, get to know how they are going to try to bring out the best in you, and interact with you on the wedding day, and how you feel in front of the camera. I think sometimes a lot of people haven't ever had professional photos taken of themselves before, so you don't know exactly how you're going to feel. And then suddenly when the camera's on you, sometimes people totally light up. Sometimes people freeze like a deer in headlights and are really nervous. So to get a little bit of that out of the way with engagement photo shoots is a nice way to do it if you can't. If you're in the same area. I know, you know, you're not able to with Jasmine until right before.
That Jasmine does an amazing job of putting herself out there for people to just sort of, there's no pretense with her. She just is who she is. And that's the part that's kind of inhibiting for people who choose photographers, that they don't have that sort of boundaryless relationship with. Like, we feel like we already know Jasmine because we read her blog. And
she really shares so much of herself.
She does. She shares so much of herself. It makes it easy to trust her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
Very good. Well, I'm really excited just to kind of see all that unfold, and to see you make that switch from being a wedding photographer to being the bride. And it'll be interesting to see if there's times when you forget. You know what I mean? If you kind of see yourself mentally being behind the lens, and then remembering that, no, this is your day, and to just, my hope is that you will be just completely in the moment and relax and enjoying.
I have photographed weddings for other photographers, and for one, it's really intimidating.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Jasmine doesn't feel that way about us, but it is. And for two, I can see why it's really hard for them to just sort of like turn that part of their brain off. Like, you know, it's one of those things where you just have to let the person sort of see things the way that they see them, rather than expecting that they're going to see things the way that you see them.
Absolutely. And that's why, you know, you're hiring, the photographer you're hiring when you plan a wedding is because you love the way they see the world. You love their artistic viewpoint. You love their interpretation of life. And so, yeah, hopefully you just can, you know, lay back and like trust that
I know
that's going to come out.
easy.
What are some of the favorite moments when you're photographing a wedding? What are the moments that you love to see through your lens?
I love sort of the moments in between, like just before they go in for the kiss, or you know, when everybody's just sort of standing there milling around talking to each other and capturing that laughter and just the sort of the candid moments in between. I know Jasmine's really big on that too. So I see that in her work when people are laughing and sort of relaxed and enjoying themselves. I love the moment where you're walking down the aisle and you focus on the groom and you can see what he looks like when he sees his imminent doom walking towards him. I love that moment. It's like this like mixture of fear and awe and
so much emotion.
Yeah.
And when the groom cries in that moment, it's all over. Everybody cries.
Yes.
It's like waterworks all
I'm
around.
a crier and Billy's a crier.
Yay!
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be a hot mess. Billy has given a lot of speeches at weddings, and he always cries, and then I cry. I can't see people cry, or I'm just like, "Wah."
That's good to know.
Yeah,
Lots
I
of
will cry.
It's going to be good
The
photos.
bridesmaids will be providing little handkerchiefs to
Waterproof
pass on.
mascara.
Absolutely, waterproof everything. It's gonna be like a sprinkler.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
But I think that's nice, though, too, because there are definitely couples or people who are so used to keeping those emotions in. And what I see from the two of you, when Christy has shot you briefly and just with interacting with you two, you're very open. You know, you're all out there, and that makes it easier, I think, because it's not like on the wedding day all of a sudden, you know, he's going to see you and just totally be out of control emotionally. You know, like he's going to react to you walking down the aisle, and you're going to react to the moment and all the emotion that's going on. But you're already so open with each other and with everyone that I think it's just going to be very natural and beautiful and joyful, and all the guests are going to be able to share in that. And it's just going to be incredible. She's getting teary. I love it.
And for all the readers and, you know, viewers out there, if any of you are interested, and if you read what Junebug loves, our wedding planning blog on Junebug Weddings, we're going to be showing a little collection tomorrow of Laura's favorite sort of moments at weddings, some of the photographs she loves to take, and kind of seeing visually her perspective on this conversation and, you know, the wedding moments that she loves to interact with. So,
Yay!
Wonderful. Well, so taking from that and kind of talking about photographic moments, and a lot of times when I'm talking with the photographer at a wedding and we're working through the logistics of the day to make sure that they're aware of what's going on so they can plan appropriately and they can figure out, you know, where is going to be the best light for this and where is going to be the best position for this. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Laura, planning-wise, is the logistics of the day, the timing of the day. You know, what things are you wanting to do? What things are you absolutely not wanting to do? You know, there's definitely some traditions like the garter toss and the bouquet toss that some brides love and embrace and they're excited about, and some brides are like, no, I want nothing to do with that. You know, no one's going to be pinning dollars to my veil in the money dance, as an example. Although that might sound good, right? At this
Although
point?
I will take blank checks.
Yeah. We'll have a box with blank checks. So, bouquet toss.
So I was kind of thinking that I was going to go the untraditional route and stray away from those types of things. But then yesterday at my impromptu bridal brunch, I heard a lot of protests from my single friends. So I was doing the table assignments, and I was like, gosh, I really don't have a lot of single ladies out there. You know, I don't want it to be like the kids, and, you know, you've seen stuff like that. So maybe we just hold them back. Their parents are pushing them out there. We're like, no. But so I think I will do that. I will do that.
Okay. So, separate tossing bouquet then? Because you probably don't want to.
Yeah, probably.
Yes. And I don't know if all brides know this, but we do usually, most most of the time a bride will not toss her actual bouquet. One, because at least the ones that we make tend to be really big, and it could be a
Could hurt
hazard.
someone.
Could definitely hurt someone
Knock
with the
somebody
things that we
out.
put in there. But yeah, it's just nice to have something smaller and something that someone can take away, because most brides want to keep their bouquet. They may not have it preserved professionally, although that's something else to think about. If there's anyone out there that does preservation, maybe that's something we can discuss. But yeah, so we'll make a fun little tossing bouquet for you that
Okay.
won't hurt anyone if it
Good.
lands on their head.
Sharp
you have good aim,
objects.
Laura?
I don't know. I should start practicing, huh?
That
Yeah.
overhead. Yes, very good. Garter, I see we have a garter here,
Yes.
so I want to look at it.
So my friend Amy made this for me, and I had found this one on Etsy
pleating.
that was like from a foreign country and like over $100. She's like, I could make that for you. So we took a little trip to the fabric store and picked out some trims and things that I thought would go well with my theme of my day, and she made this for me, which is amazing.
I love it. I like the vintage feel to it. It's kind of
Yeah.
modern, kind of vintage. It's got a lot of texture to it. This kind of warm caramel color, a little bit
I
of the
love the
velvet.
pleating.
Well, remember we looked at all those dresses that had the pleating, so that's the
Yeah.
first thing I noticed when I saw that was the beautiful pleating.
I love it.
Very pretty. So we're going to be doing a bouquet toss. I mean, a
A
garter,
garter
toss.
test,
then.
yes. But I
So-
don't think we're going to do anything like, Mission Impossible type of things. No offense to anybody who does that, but I think we'll just keep it simple and classic, and he'll just stick
So
his hand
you
up
want
there.
a chair,
Yeah,
yes.
I think so. Yeah.
but nobody throwing you around. And
no.
I've seen also those things, since some people, like you were saying, don't want to do what everybody else does, so they don't want to do the traditional, there's
Well, I
been
think
a lot
for
of
me-
creativity lately, which sometimes goes a little out of hand.
For me, I see everything because I'm at weddings every weekend.
Exactly.
So I guess I'm a little jaded. I just want something a little bit different for my wedding,
Yes.
but still some of the classic traditions have to apply. So
Excellent.
yeah.
Have you thought about first dance and the dances that you would be doing with Dad, and dances that Billy would be doing? I know there's talk about some dance lessons that we had talked about early on.
I think we're gonna try and do some dance lessons this week. We've been in touch with Premier Ballroom, in Everett, and we live in Everett, so that makes it easy. And we're gonna whip something up. We love to dance. Like, we don't have any idea what we're doing, but at every wedding we just love to like spin around on the floor, and there's lots of dipping, which probably always looks very technically wrong, but we love to dance. So hopefully we'll improve on our skills and without everybody staring at us.
Well, you'll
Be
get
able to remember some things.
Right? Do you have a first dance song picked out?
We don't have one like solidified yet, but we are thinking something Sinatra or big band type thing.
Wonderful. So
Yeah.
think about that before you get to that dance lesson, because they might be able to at least give you something that goes with the beat of the music and the sound of the music, so that it's they may not choreograph your whole first dance,
Yeah.
but just so you have comfort that what you're going to be learning fits well with that. So
We
if you
would
can
love
pick that
some
out.
suggestions from anybody if you've heard something that's maybe a little bit unusual, but we want something that's fun and flirty and that type of music. Something
Well,
classic.
so those of you out there in the chat room and out on Twitter, it sounds like Laura is inviting you for suggestions for first dance music. So bring it on.
Yeah, I have our father-daughter song.
Okay.
I told my dad originally that I wanted him to choose, which was a big mistake because he's not a music person, and he came up with some like Celine Dion number, and I was like, nah, I don't think so. I was thinking more like the Eagles, or I don't know. I was just thinking he would delve back into the hard drive a little bit further, but so we revisited that, and we found one that was a suggestion from a friend of mine that is really fun and funny, and it's great. It's got lots
Fits
of
more
like
with your personality.
strumming, and yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Speaking of all that, how's your family handling all this? It's obviously not your average, your child is getting married, which is a big moment in a parent's life. Most people's children don't get married with tons of live cameras around in a 4-week period of planning, and this is definitely very unique and different. And how do your parents feel about all this?
I think my mom and I are definitely driving each other insane. My mom is she's a very like task-oriented person. She likes to talk about things, and she's calling me every 5 minutes. I was thinking about this. I was thinking we should do this. Da, 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 da. What were you thinking about this? I'm like, Mom, I'm just not thinking about anything. I just, I'm doing my whatever. She's driving me nuts. I'm driving her nuts.
I think that's very, very
common.
typical, very common.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's just happening all at once.
It is. It's all very condensed, and I think this is probably what this experience does do. That it just makes everything more saturated, more intense, because it's in a 4-week period, and there's a reason why brides usually pick a year to do their wedding. We work with brides sometimes 18 months. Yeah, and it's not only a lot of decisions, but it makes the process of thinking about it shorter. So you only get a few days to think about each thing, and you're thinking at multiple things at once, which, though, for some brides who have a hard time making decisions, as you've said you think you do, sometimes it makes that easier because, you have deadlines that, we have to make this decision by then. So one of the things we're currently working on is catering and food selection, and, we know we have to make that decision in the next day or two, and there's, a lot of things to talk about, type of food and how it's going to be served and all that kind of stuff. So, normally this process would take a long time. We would do lots of tastings, and we would talk, amongst ourselves, and you would go home and talk with Billy. We would talk about what would look better. We've got to do this in about 3 days. Yeah. Which is good, though, because we can get a lot of things done, but it is definitely a little bit more intense than usual. And I have to say, you've been keeping up pretty darn well.
Thank you.
Definitely.
I try. I think all in all, though, my parents are just really happy that we're getting married. Finally, because we're pushing 7 years together, and we've been through a lot of phases of our lives together, and now is when it actually feels right to do this. But we got engaged in November, and then literally did not plan anything, I think, until this. We had a lot of ideas, but nothing really concrete and cemented. So I think they're glad to see that it's actually going to happen, and not just something we were talking about maybe doing.
That's right.
So,
are there any special ways that you're bringing your family into sort of involving them? Or, I mean, maybe some of them are sort of surprises, so you don't have to give anything away.
Yeah. Well, we do have a lot of things up our sleeve, but it is really a main focus of our wedding that we're joining our 2 families together. And Billy's sister is my maid of honor. His other sister is in the wedding. It's really going to be family focused about how important it is that we are bringing these 2 families together and moving forward with our own family. So we're going to showcase we're not doing like a slideshow or anything, but we're going to showcase wedding pictures from our families and just sort of put that out there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Do you have how much planning? We haven't talked about this detail at all yet. Who's officiating the wedding?
Billy's uncle is officiating. We had originally thought that it would be nice to ask him to do it because we wanted somebody who would be invested in us and in our future, and not just somebody random, somebody who could sort of be like a sponsor is for an alcoholic. Like when things go wrong, they're there. They're invested in you and have a interest in making your marriage work. And it's hard. Our relationship has been hard. I can't imagine like what marriage is going to be like. Yay! I'm just kidding.
I have to say, I love all your analogies. A lot. Very good. Looks like we have questions.
So we have a couple of questions from the internet. One is for Laura. If Jasmine was not shooting your wedding, how would you be going about looking for a photographer, or how did you before you actually found out that this was going to happen for you?
I sort of, from the beginning of like thinking about getting married, I'm a very visual person. So I was visualizing how I was going to look on my wedding day based off of how I was going to look in the pictures. Maybe like a little backwards way of thinking about it, but it's like, how do I want this picture to look? So I really am drawn to romantic images like Elizabeth Messina's, where they're just sort of ethereal looking. So but also Billy and I are kind of funny and quirky and weird, so I'm also really drawn to the images that are authentic in that way. So I read wedding blogs and I see hundreds and thousands of images on a weekly basis. So for me, it was just sort of like figuring out what I was drawn to and then researching from there who the photographers were going to be. And a real pivotal moment for me was this year at WPPI when I was there in Las Vegas. I was walking around the trade show by myself and just sort of like I had specific things that I was doing, but I got really distracted by the Richards Photo Lab booth. And I went over there and I was like flipping through all of the albums from Cyprus. And I got so emotional from one of the albums that I started to cry in the middle of the trade show floor. And I was like, oh my God, what is the matter with me? I'm a crazy person. I am standing here in the middle of this massive trade show crying over a wedding album. But for me, in that moment, I was like, okay, I need a film photographer. I need to research that as a real option for me because I was so emotionally taken with it.
So what's the most important thing to you about a wedding photographer?
I think having a good relationship with that person and having that trust factor where you have seen enough of their work that you feel connected to the subjects in it and that you know that they're going to deliver a quality product to you in a timely manner.
Right. And I think, you know, what you said about how you reacted to this particular album, and I think just like with gowns and with a lot of things that you're picking for your wedding, there will be a moment when you're looking through things, whether it's on a blog or in an album in front of you or a gown store where you're going to see that and you're going to react to it emotionally. And that's what you should look for, is that reaction where you just, oh, that's it. You know, and you might not think exactly like, oh, that's it, but your whole body will react, you know, chemically and physically, and you'll know. And that's what you want, because you want to feel that connection. It shouldn't be just another pretty dress or like, oh, that photo's great. Yeah, okay, you know, we'll all stand in that line, or we'll all jump when the photographer says jump. You know, it should be something that you react to, and then that's when you know. And so I think if you're looking through blogs or something, make sure that you feel that way, and not just about one particular image, but you know, across the images. When I take my brides to see photographers, I always ask, is there somewhere where we can see a whole wedding? Because it's really easy, you know, to pull lots of amazing images from different weddings. Because any wedding you shoot, you're going to get 5 amazing images. But what's the whole story look like? What's that album look like of telling the whole wedding story? And are all those photos amazing? That's something great to look for. And if you see that, and if you can feel the story and feel it unfold as you're looking at it, then that's the person for you. And everyone's going to react differently to different photographers.
It's a feeling. It's a feeling that I got. And people were asking me, well, you know, what is it about film? Why is it I film? What does that mean to you? And is it the idea of film? Do you like how fancy it is? And I'm like, no, it's a feeling that it emits to me when that artist chooses that medium. That's the feeling that I get from it. That I'm just drawn to the romanticism, the preciseness of the choice of when they're taking that picture. It's not on rapid fire. It's a calculated decision that they're going to take that particular photo and frame it that way.
Well, I also saw a question go through the Creative Lounge chat room that I thought would be interesting to pass on, because you're a photographer yourself, and Christy, I believe you're a photographer as well. In regards to how does a photographer coordinate with a videographer, and we even have, you know, more complications for our own, for your wedding coming up, and that we have a full team of videographers essentially. But how does that kind of coordination happen, and what's key about working with that?
I'd say, just from my own experience, you know, it's just communication. Really simply taking the time to talk to the videographer that's there working that day, come up kind of with a game plan to, you know, be sure you both understand each other of what your priorities are, what the client has communicated to both of you about what's important to them. So you're both working for the same goals, and you know if the bride has sort of requested or communicated, you know, different wants, different desires to each of you, just to be on the same page. And then to just be really aware, conscious of like staying out of each other's frame, being careful, you know, just being kind of aware of where they are. When you have great, for me personally, when I was shooting, there were a number of videographers in town that I was so happy to shoot with at weddings, because we just had a great rapport. We had a really good way of working together, and we kind of knew how to work with and around each other, so we could both get what we needed but not be in each other's way at all. So for me, it was always just, lots of communication, so you're not stepping on each other's toes.
Well, and that mutual respect that you each know that each other's work is important. You know, we did a wedding a few months ago, and you know, I had made some recommendations and some referrals, but they were like, oh, we already know our videographer, we're bringing them in, which was great, but the videographer was right there in front. This was an Indian wedding, right there, his beautiful mandap, and he were right there, so he could get all the shots. So the poor photographer did everything they could to get their shots without the videographer standing there with his equipment, who was in the aisle. I mean, right in the front of the aisle the whole time, set up, you know, this poor photographer. So, you know, the more all the vendors can respect each other and work together, makes it easier on getting the kind of imagery that the client wants. Yeah. And I think on the planning end, you know, having a really, really solid timeline of, that's why I was saying, you know, we want to talk about the logistics. What is it that you want to do, and what's the order that you want these things in, to get that out to all the vendors ahead of time so they kind of know what to expect. But then the planner's job on the day of is that inevitably things might run behind, or maybe, you know, this particular moment of dancing is going fabulously, so we're not going to say, oh, it's 9 o'clock, it's cake time, stop the song, you know. We want to make sure that everything goes very smoothly, and the event will take on a life of itself. So the planner's job is then to go around to the photographer and the videographer. Okay, we're pushing everything back 5 minutes. Be ready here. Be, you know, near the cake table at this point in time in about 5 minutes, and I'll keep you posted. And so that person, your planner or day of coordinator, whoever is there kind of organizing everything, runs back and forth to all the vendors and keeps everyone posted to what's happening, so that everything runs really, really smoothly. And that really helps in making all that happen. And it'll be really important when there's 4 or 5 videographers and, you know, Jasmine running
how
around.
that's going to work.
You don't have to worry about it, thank goodness.
I'm not worried about it. I'm just
That timeline, the timeline and the communication together are really great too, because then you've sort of established your relationship with a videographer, photographer, you know, working together, and then when everyone kind of knows what's going on and the schedule is running relatively smoothly, or at least you know what's coming up next, you have time to make adjustments where maybe they set up in the aisle during the, you know, ceremony, and as a photographer you want to ask them politely, like, could you move this? Do you think maybe we could move over? And then you guys, you know, you can work together so much better when you have a little time, little room to move, and you've established that they're not going to be upset if you ask them to please scoot over.
More questions?
So, what are the specific plans as far as albums go? Are there going to be albums for more than one album? Albums for the families, perhaps? Or do you have any ideas?
Well, Jasmine and I have made arrangements. She's just going to provide me with the process files, so that, because I'm in the industry and it's just so labor intensive to do albums for clients. So she's going to give me the files, and then I'm going to do my own albums through the vendors that I have relationships with. So I don't know how many I'll do. Maybe I'll just make a bunch. 10 volumes.
Wow,
Volume
there we
1,
go. Volume 1.
Volume 3, Volume 4.
Laura and Billy,
This
volume
is all about
15.
us. And then I'll make everyone sit down at the holidays and flip through them while I explain every picture. This is what we did for this.
That sounds about right. So, as a bride, how do you feel about first look photography?
I 100% believe in it. Absolutely. And why I believe in it is because I've seen it so many times. Almost every one of my clients does it. And how I explain it is, when you see each other for the first time in a first look, you can choose to have it done privately, and then you can have whatever emotions you want with that person. You get to be yourself. You don't have to hold it in. You can cry, you can kiss, you can do the leg wrap, you know, when you hug. You can do whatever you want, and you're by yourself. You can say whatever you want. You can. I totally believe in it. It's a really, really special moment between you and your spouse on the wedding day.
That moment, I mean, I love, you know, I mean, as I'm planning and designing a wedding, it's not usually something I'm a part of, but I always make a point to be there, because something about that moment when he first sees his bride, you know, she's been his girlfriend, his fiancée, she's about to become his wife, and having that veil and the dress makes it so real for him, and the first moment he sees that, it's just amazing. It's priceless, you know, because guys sometimes don't show a lot of emotion, but they sure do at that moment, and it's just an incredible moment.
I'm gonna cry, so I'm gonna say something funny instead. That someone once explained this tradition to me, and it dates back really, really far to not seeing the bride before the actual ceremony, because at one point you didn't exactly know what you were getting in a bride. It was an arranged marriage. It was the veil was to cover the face, so that when you're standing there in front of a whole crowd of people, you can't just say,
never mind.
Think so. So I don't see. I mean, he clearly knows what he's getting. So it's not something that there's no secrets.
Excellent.
Well, I think the other thing that it helps is that you're more comfortable. You know, you're walking down the aisle, you've had that moment, you've had that special moment, and it's not, you're already going to be so nervous, no offense, not to make you feel worse, but, you know, as a bride walking down the aisle, do I look okay? Am I going to trip on the aisle runner? You know, am I holding the bouquet right? You know, is my daddy crying? Like, all those different things, like, where is he, and what does he look like? And, you know, there's already so many emotions and concerns you have as you're about to walk down the aisle, so you've seen each other, you've made that connection, and so now you're there's just that joy, that stress, and that worry about that, how, you know, that when the first time you see each other, you've already done that. You've made that special connection, and it's great because a lot of times I'll watch that moment too, and she'll walk down the aisle and they connect and their eyes lock, and it's just magical. So.
All right. Well, do we have questions? Seem to be winding down a little bit.
Okay.
There's one comment. It's when the bride. Yes, Cookie Cat Chick was explaining exactly what the first look is. And she said it's when the bride and groom see each other before the ceremony, and it's a good opportunity, she says, for natural romantic bridal portraits.
Absolutely.
Right.
You don't get, the other thing is that you just don't get enough time with the bride and groom if you don't do that, because the sun is setting, they want to be you know, at cocktail hour with our family and friends. They want to be celebrating. They don't want to be out taking pictures. That's where we get the horrible stigma from, is because photographers, you want pictures of yourself with your spouse on your wedding day, and there's just not enough time if you wait.
But their minds are already on honeymoon. But, you know,
My
by
mind
that
is
time,
already on honeymoon. I'm not even on the wedding day yet.
Still have a few days and weeks to go. Fabulous. Well, I want to take the conversation in a different route. We've talked a little bit about logistics and the photography, and the third thing on our agenda today was to talk a little bit more again about design, specifically about flowers and what you imagine yourself carrying. Obviously, I love flowers. That's one of the favorite parts of the design, and I feel like it's a great thing that ties everything together. You know, it has, you know, it's visual, it smells good, it has all these different things, and so for a lot of brides, that bouquet that they carry is something that they thought about for a long time. It's the ultimate, you know, accessory. It should match everything. It should tie in with everything, but it should be a statement piece. And so some brides have no idea what they want, and it's stressful for them because they want it to look beautiful, but they don't know what they want. And others have really specific ideas and will hand me a tear sheet from a magazine, and I want exactly this. And so then my job is to make that piece more about them and to draw them into it. And so for you, I wanted to talk a little bit about what you envision carrying for the day.
I like a lot of texture, but I like bouquets that are really like clusters of flowers. I don't even know what is the technique where you like cluster them together, like certain types of flowers, and then another type, and then another type, and then another. Not just like a big mess.
Right. Well, so what you're saying is, so instead of a rose here and then a ranunculus and then a gardenia, we want clusters. So almost more, you know, a lot of things grow on vines. It's more natural. That texture is created more naturally versus spacing everything out perfectly. And, oh, I've put a rose next to a calla lily. Now I have to put this. Things grow in clusters, and so that tends to be a more natural, romantic look because that's how they occur in nature.
That's why I'm drawn to it. That explains it.
There's always a reason for things.
Yeah.
We're going overall with the color palette that we've picked for those of you know who haven't been tuning in. We've got this color palette of cobalt blue, coppery, brown sugar, you know, metallic hues mixed in, golds, which obviously those don't lend themselves too well to flowers since those types of colors of flowers don't tend to grow too much. But so we've added in this beautiful idea of creams, vanillas, eggshell.
Yeah.
So
I think really neutral. Like I just think it's so beautiful to have like an all monochromatic bouquet with lots of texture, and then maybe just like a latte ribbon around the bottom.
Okay.
The brooch or something.
Are you wanting to stay mostly creams and ivories? Do you want to head into the champagnes and taupe with the flowers themselves?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you run with that.
Good. I love to hear that. Shape. Do you imagine something tightly clustered? Clusters, but do you want a nice round bouquet? Do you see the long, dramatic dragging down the floor?
Please, the one that sits on my arm like this, like I'm in a beauty pageant.
Yes.
No.
No. Thank you.
No. Or the one that's like with the spray coming down the bottom.
I don't see you that way.
No.
Strangely enough.
No, I just think, nice round, not like round, but
Not like the lollipop.
no, just
Romantic,
normal.
textured. But see, you say that and all brides in their head think, I want the normal one, you know, that one. Well, so my job is to try to be a little bit more specific than normal.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you like texture. You want it not totally tight, but also not all over, not wildflower loose.
Right. Like
random.
there's some, you can get that sort of loose feeling with certain flowers. Like you were
Correct.
saying, the antique roses or whatever you call
garden
them.
roses,
And
ranunculus,
and the like clematis type, like flat ones or
gardenias.
yeah.
Is scent important to you?
Not necessarily.
Okay. One of the things that, you know, some brides may not know is that a lot of the florist roses that we purchase that are grown, they don't smell that good anymore. That over time, with all the gene splicing and all the things that happen, you know, some of the roses, they still smell good, but they're not that amazing tea rose scent that you smell in a rose that's growing, you know, in your neighbor's garden. And so garden roses, you know, that will sometimes add in a bouquet, have that beautiful scent. There's gardenias, there's trailing jasmine, there's all sorts of things that for the brides who that's important to, you know, that can be a really great addition. So we've talked about maybe doing gardenias, and I didn't know if that was because of the feel, the color, the classic sense of what those are, or the scent. Who knows? But we like them.
Yeah,
The scent
that's
of the
right.
flowers on sort of the other side of things is something to keep in mind for couples. If one of you has allergies or is really sensitive to smell and you choose gardenias and really, really fragrant flowers, that bouquet is going to be really close to both of you all day long, and all the photos during the ceremony. So definitely, you know, should talk with your florist and make sure you understand the level of strength of the scent of the flowers. In
Well, we
case one
talked
of you is
about no
sensitive.
lilies,
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of lilies.
and those have a very overpowering scent. I know, I for one am allergic to lilies, and so once in a while I get a bride who really wants lilies. I'm like, oh, that's gonna be a tough week for me, you know. But I'll do it. But on that note, one of the things you don't want to do is have a lot of really scentful flowers on your table, because especially if you're having certain kinds of food, now all of a sudden you're having this really heady smell of gardenias and you know, scentful flowers on the table, and it's competing with the more aromatic scent of the food itself. So be careful when you're putting flowers on a table that they're not so powerfully scented that it mixes wrong with the food. That's
Right.
something else to consider.
That's a really good point.
Very good. Well, we have all sorts of little ideas that I like to surprise a bride with on her bouquet, you know, whether it's something pretty in the bouquet or the binding like we've talked about, maybe some sort of caramel color. So are you up for a little surprise?
Sure.
Excellent. I want to see, there was some mention of a beautiful tin that you found that we might be able to
yeah.
be creative with for a ring bearer or a flower girl.
So I
like to
found
show
this
that.
last week, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but I just loved it. So then I wrote on my to-do list for this week that I needed to get a ring bearer pillow and a flower girl basket. So I thought maybe like I could put some fabric in here and have this be the ring bearer pillow, or if it's too big, make it the
Flower girl basket?
yeah.
And this
So-
is, you want to tell us what this used to be?
Can I say that? It's can I say that? It's a Hostess fruitcake can.
Which I think is great because,
got
again,
it to
it's that
Goodwill.
it's that out of the box thinking, you know. It's like, oh, I need a ring bearer pillow, and your mind goes to pillows, you know. And as a designer, sometimes I think, you know, since I like flowers so much, I'll think, well, let's make it out of flowers. And more, you know, the more out of the box we can be, the more interesting it is visually in photographs. It's more interesting for everybody. So I love the idea of this. You know, I can imagine this, you know, filled with some sort of beautiful stuffing and beautiful cobalt blue fabric, and you know, a little button or something, you know, something vintagey to tie their rings to. I think that's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
And it's personal because you saw it and you loved it and you were drawn to it and you were drawn to it enough to buy it even though you didn't know what you were going to do with it. And so it's something you love.
There's a lot of stuff like that in my garage.
Ooh, I would take a field trip to the garage. That sounds like a lot of fun. But that's a really good point, Chris, because a lot of times people, you know, I'm responsible for getting things like this. But it's so much more meaningful if the bride does it. And I'm not trying to give the bride or the groom more work. But if you're stopping by somewhere and something speaks to you, by all means, even if you have no idea what to do with it, get it, give it to me. And I could think of 10 different things to do with this. This could be all sorts of different things.
And even if it just inspired something else, even if you didn't use the
Exactly.
actual object itself for
Exactly.
something, but the colors, the design, the pattern, something about it inspired then the next thing.
Exactly.
That's a great way to go.
Yeah, so keep at it.
Okay.
One of the things I know we are looking for is chandeliers still.
Yes.
So anyone out there, you have a great source for chandeliers, you have a chandelier you don't want, you've seen a great chandelier somewhere, we are wanting to bedeck that beautiful space with some really amazing and all different
Or
chandeliers.
you have some to loan.
Yes, we will loan and showcase your beautiful chandelier.
Yes.
And I'd like to mention that we can, you know, if you have one to loan and you have a company where you maybe perhaps rent or sell those sorts of things, we can definitely do a little promotion, post a link into the chat room and post a link on a Twitter feed and what have you. So we're looking for that.
Keep them flowing in.
Yeah, it's been actually great. I mean, we've had a lot of really amazing people lend their time, you know, talk about what amazing things they have. We're not going to get too detailed about the jewelry that you're having made because you want that to be a surprise. But do you want to talk a little bit about the jewelry maker?
My good friend Renee makes and sells jewelry on Etsy, and she's extremely talented. We went to choose some different materials, and she's making some lovelies for me for the day.
Did you get to pick design or just color, or how
We're working
interactive
together.
are you in that process?
We're working together to do it. She's kind of whipped up some different samples for me, and I'm going to try them on with the dress, and we're going to see like how low things need to hang. My dress really doesn't need a whole lot. It's so simple that I don't want to I just want to keep it really simple and about me. So I think I'm just going to, it's all about me, clearly. It's my day. I've been watching lots of Bridezillas too. So I think I'm just going to wear earrings and maybe a bracelet. So
Very cool.
very simple.
Colorful? Can you hint at color versus
Something sort of maybe like
rich
a
and
warm honey, sort of like amber. What do you think?
Very nice. Maybe we should just put this right here on your neck. No.
A choker.
Very good.
How are you wearing your hair yet? Do you know yet?
I think something convertible. I'm gonna have it sort of up and low for the ceremony because I'm gonna be wearing a veil and then like a brooch, and then for the we'll let it down for the reception.
Nice.
How did
Or
that
half up.
whole process go? I know you met with Glenn at 7 Salon, who's amazing, and you had a really good experience with him, it sounds like.
Yeah,
talking
we
about
did a consultation, and he sort of just like whipped something up really fast, and it looked amazing. And it was sort of like a low, messy type thing. But then after that was like the day that I got my dress, so I wasn't really, couldn't really like envision what I wanted my hair to look like. Now that I've sort of soaked the dress in, I think I want something a little bit sleeker. That, and when I got home and took out all the bobby pins, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this in like 10 minutes. There were like 60 pins. I'm like, is it ever going to stop? But yeah, something just a little bit sleeker and more sophisticated, low, and then let it down or put it half up for the
Very cool.
It's something to keep in mind on the topic of jewelry. If you're doing earrings, just kind of thinking, with your dark hair, how is it going to show? Just things to keep in mind depending on, if you're wearing your hair down, are your earrings going to, show off with the hair as the background versus when it's up? So just the little details of, trying to bring all the pieces together when you're shopping for your accessories and your dress to really think about all of that together, so you're not sort of surprised later, like, oh, well, that's not what I thought
these
that was
great
gonna be
earrings,
like.
but
I
can't see
totally
them.
forgot.
them.
I'm wearing a piece of her jewelry today.
Oh.
And she's using these Swarovski. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to get it off my head. 'Cause of the microphone. Sorry, just kidding. She's using these Swarovski crystals. It's not quite, this is like sort of a white one, but she's using these crystals that are in amber. Brooklyn Grace on Etsy. You can look her up. It's like,
Oh, very cool.
I guess this camera would be better. My microphone. Look good with the mic? Oh, you can't even see it.
Very nice.
Anyway.
Well, and I like the kind of found feel. Like, to me, I see that, and it's like this found feel. It's not over crafted, overdone.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and it looks like something that has been there for a while. Very pretty. Very good. Well, I feel really good. I feel like at this halfway mark, and we've only got a little bit time to go, I feel like we've gotten a lot of things accomplished. We're still working on little details for the next week. Favors, for one. There's rumors of lots of chocolate, which is always great considering where we're going to be. So I think we're beginning to wrap things up and feeling really good about everything. Do we have more questions, Sarah?
No more questions at the moment, but I did want to mention that if anybody who wanted to offer chandeliers or what have you, or had any other things going on that they wanted to let us know about, they can email it to 4weekwedding, that's 4 with the number 4, 4-week wedding at creativelive.com.
And thank you for everyone who has offered to help and has offered some of their things. It's just been amazing, the wonderful things that have come our way, and people that are getting publicity from this have responded that it's doing wonders. So thank you.
Anything else?
Okay.
No, I think we're good.
So it sounds like we're winding down, so we should go ahead and wrap up. We're done today with today's fabulous wedding in just 4 weeks, week 3. And we are going to continue this with the final week next week. Is Billy going to be joining us?
I hope so.
Yay.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I think Jasmine might be joining us in person.
Oh, in person.
I think. I'm not sure about that.
No.
No, maybe not. But
Not in the flesh.
we'll try to get her in on Skype. So,
Fabulous.
all righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.